Before we start, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel if you like our videos. We're racing the UK and trying to get 100,000 subscribers before they end up leaving the EU, so drop us a subscribe to give us a hand. So last time May took her Brexit deal to the House of Commons, things didn't go so well.
Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 202. The noes to the left, 432.
So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock!
After losing a vote in Parliament last week, May was given 3 working days to come up with a backup plan. So on Monday 21st, she returned to the House of Commons with a new plan.
Mr. Speaker, turning to Brexit, following last week's vote, it is clear that the government's approach had to change. And it has.
So how has May's deal changed, and is it now more likely to be successful? Well, May is certainly trying to make things happen by seeking more cross-party cooperation than she had previously.
Having established the confidence of Parliament in this government, I've listened to colleagues across Parliament from different parties and with different views. Last week I met the leader of the Liberal Democrats, the Westminster leaders of the DUP, SNP, Plaid Cymru and the Green Party, and backbench members from both sides of this House.
She was, however, unable to meet with Jeremy Corbyn, as he refused to meet with May unless she ruled out the possibility of no-deal Brexit.
I regret that the Right Honourable Gentleman, the Leader of the Opposition, has not chosen to take part so far. I hope he will reflect on that decision.
So what's in this new, more collaborative deal?
Let me set out the 6 key issues which have been at the centre of the talks to date. First, there is widespread concern about the possibility of the UK leaving without a deal. And there are those on both sides of the House who want the government to rule this out. But we need to be honest with the British people about what that means. The right way to rule out no deal is for this House to approve a deal with the European Union. That is what this government is seeking to achieve. The only other guaranteed way to avoid a no-deal Brexit is to revoke Article 50, which would mean staying in the EU. There are others who think that what we need is more time, so they say we should extend Article 50 to give longer for Parliament to debate how we should leave and what a deal should look like. This is not ruling out no deal, but simply deferring the point of decision. And the EU are very unlikely simply to agree to extend Article 50 without a plan for how we are going to approve a deal.
May then clearly ruled out the idea of taking no deal off the table.
And whilst I want to deliver a deal with the EU, I cannot support the only other way in which to take no deal off the table, which is to revoke Article 50.
Next, she tackled the controversial topic of a second referendum on Brexit.
Second, all the opposition parties that have engaged so far, and some backbenchers, have expressed their support for a second referendum. I fear a second referendum would set a difficult precedent that could have significant implications for how we handle referendums in this country, not least strengthening the hand of those campaigning to break up our United Kingdom. And I also believe that there has not yet been enough recognition of the way that a second referendum could damage social cohesion by undermining faith in our democracy. I do not believe there is a majority for a second referendum. And if I am right, then just as the government is having to think again about its approach going forwards, then so too do those members who believe this is the answer.
May didn't announce a vote on the possibility of a second referendum, as some had hoped, but by her tone, it seems like she wouldn't be too threatened if another MP did force the House to vote on a second referendum. She seems pretty confident the vote wouldn't succeed anyway. We discussed if a vote on a second referendum would be successful, and you can check that out on our website at tldrnews.co.uk/second vote. Then May moved on to the next major issue, which is the Northern Irish border.
Members of this House, predominantly but not only on the government benches and the DUP, continue to express their concern on the issue of the Northern Ireland backstop. All of us agree that as we leave the European Union, we must fully respect the Belfast Agreement and not allow the creation of a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, nor indeed a border down the Irish Sea. And I want to be absolutely clear, in the light of media stories this morning, this government will not reopen the Belfast Agreement. I have never even considered doing so, and neither would I. With regard to the backstop, despite the changes we have previously agreed, there remain two core issues: the fear that we could be trapped in it permanently, and concerns over its potential impact on our union if Northern Ireland is treated differently from the rest of the UK. So I will be talking further this week to colleagues, including in the DUP, to consider how we might meet our obligations to the people of Northern Ireland and Ireland in a way that can command the greatest possible support in the House.
May also said that some members of the House were concerned that her original deal wasn't precise enough when it came to how the EU-UK relationship would operate after Brexit. That's possibly because only 7 of the 585 pages of May's deal discussed a future relationship. She tried to reassure those who were worrying by saying,
"This new phase of negotiations will be different in a number of ways. It will cover a far broader range of issues in greater depth, and so will require us to build a negotiating team that draws on the widest expertise available, from trade negotiators to security experts and specialists in data and financial services."
Following the spirit of cooperation that May has tried to foster, she said that she'll be including more people from around the UK.
While it will always be for Her Majesty's government to negotiate for the whole of the UK, we are also committed to giving the devolved administrations an enhanced role in the next phase, respecting their competence and vital interests in these negotiations.
May also addressed Labour's concerns that Brexit would damage rights and protections.
Honourable members from across the House have raised strong views that our exit from the EU should not lead to a reduction in our social and environmental standards, and in particular workers' rights. So I will ensure that we provide Parliament with a guarantee that not only will we not erode protection for workers' rights and the environment, but we will ensure this country leads the way.
May also tried to reassure EU citizens living in the UK by announcing changes to the government's scheme which would allow them to confirm their status in the UK.
A number of members have made powerful representations about the anxieties facing EU citizens in the UK and UK citizens in the EU who are waiting to have their status confirmed. We have already committed to ensuring that EU citizens in the UK will be able to stay and to continue to access in-country benefits and services on broadly the same terms as now, in both a deal and a no-deal scenario. I can confirm today that when we roll out the scheme in full on the 30th of March, the government will waive the application fee so that there is no financial barrier for any EU nationals who wish to stay. Some EU member states have similarly guaranteed the rights of British nationals in a no-deal scenario, and we will step up our efforts to ensure that they all do so.
So May addressed the 6 major concerns of the House: a no deal, a second referendum, the Northern Irish border and backstop, the continued relationship of the UK and EU, workers' rights and environmental protections, rights of EU citizens in the UK and UK citizens in the EU. So now May has told us her position on the biggest talking points of Brexit, but what is her plan for going forward?
In addition to this statement, today I will lay a written ministerial statement and table a motion in neutral terms on this statement. This motion will be amendable and will be debated and voted on in this House on the 29th of January, and I will provide a further update to the House during that debate. To be clear, this is not a rerun of the vote to ratify the agreement we have reached with the European Union, but the fulfilment of the process following the House's decision to reject that motion. The process of engagement is ongoing. In the next few days, my ministerial colleagues and I will continue to meet with members on all sides of the House and with representatives of the trade unions, business groups, civil society and others as we try to find the broadest possible consensus on a way forward.
So May's plan is to take the existing deal forward, but to allow other groups to become more involved in developing and improving the deal, in the hopes that they'll be able to reach something enough people are happy with. Although some people welcome the changes, many say that despite May's claims that she understands and acknowledges her loss last week, she's only really making incremental changes to her deal and not acting as if she really gets that her deal lost.
And my sense so far is that the 3 key changes are needed. First, we will be more flexible, open and inclusive in the future in how we engage Parliament in our approach to negotiating our future partnership with the European Union. Second, we will embed the strongest possible protections on workers' rights and the environment. And third, we will work to identify how we can ensure that our commitment to no hard border in Northern Ireland and Ireland can be delivered in a way that commands the support of this House and the European Union. In doing so, we will honour the mandate of the British people and leave the European Union in a way which benefits every part of our United Kingdom and every citizen of our country. And I commend this statement to the House.
And with that, her statement to the House of Commons was over. So what did we learn exactly? May has rejected the idea of ruling out a no deal. She doesn't support the second referendum and believes that it doesn't have a majority in the House. She reiterated her position on the Northern Irish border and backstop. She promised to defend workers' rights and environmental protections. And she continued her commitment to EU citizens and amended her scheme so that no EU citizen has to pay to seek settled status in the UK. One last thing which I'm sure is on your mind. The EU seemed pretty sure last week that they weren't up for changes to the deal and wouldn't allow for more negotiations. So how does May think that this deal is going to work? Well, that's something we'll be exploring in the coming days, but Michel Barnier, Europe's chief negotiator, had an initial negative reaction. He said that the UK should focus on their future relationship with the EU instead of trying to make changes to the deal and the backstop, repeating the EU line that the deal the UK voted on last week was the best possible deal. After her statement to the House of Commons, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn got the opportunity to make a response. If you want to see what he said, you can find his full response at tldrnews.co.uk/response. If you want to be kept up to date with this story as it unfolds, make sure to subscribe to our channel and also to follow us across all of the social networks you can think of just by searching for TLDR News.